The early sun had just peeked above the frost-touched oaks, when stillness was shattered by a soft tap on the sturdy oak door of a secluded farmstead. Ethan Cole, a towering figure with rugged skin and wide shoulders toughened by decades of labor, had just stepped out to savor the crisp air of morning. The world was calm enough to catch the murmur of the breeze across the fields, but when he turned toward the noise, what he saw stilled him. There stood a young girl barefoot, her face smudged with grime and her eyes wide with terror. Her worn yellow dress hugged her tiny frame, and her lips quivered as if the burden of the world rested on her heart. Then she spoke words that pierced the farmer's soul like a blade. "They hurt my mama," she choked, her voice cracking. "She's fading." Before we proceed, dear friends, if you value compassion, fresh starts, and the strength of good souls rising up when it counts most, please pause to like this video, share it with others, subscribe to Kindness Tales Stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tales like this show us that humanity still has a heart, and your support keeps that flame burning. Ethan gazed at the girl, his chest tightening as he fought to calm the surge of feeling swelling within him. He had spent most of his years alone, losing himself in farm work and caring for the vast plains that stretched past the woods. He thought he had escaped the world's turmoil, yet now at his door stood a shattered child with a plea that could not be ignored. The girl's eyes, pale, frantic, begging, were enough to break even the toughest spirit. Without pause, Ethan knelt to her level, his large frame casting a wide shadow in the eerie light. He could smell the faint metallic tang of blood on her ripped dress, and he knew at once this was no merry mishap. Something cruel had occurred. He asked no questions, for the truth was etched in her shaking lips and haunted gaze. He simply lifted her into his arms and promised to find her mother. The trek through the forest was urgent. The girl, who murmured her name as Lily, guided him with small hands, pointing along twisting trails and over rissy meadows. Ethan's boots thudded against the frozen ground as he carried her, each step heavy with fear of what lay ahead. The farmer's heart, once toughened by years of isolation, now blazed with fierce resolve. He would not let this child's cries go unheard. When they reached the edge of a clearing, Ethan saw it. An old cabin, worn and tattered, sagging under years of neglect. Its door hung uneven, and smoke drifted thinly from a rusty pipe. He stepped inside, and his eyes fell on a woman sprawled across the floor. She was bruised, her face swollen, her breath faint. Yet, even in her pain, she raised her eyes to see her daughter safe. Tears flowed freely as she whispered faintly, "Thank you." Ethan's blood surged. Heck knew at once this was no twist of fate, no random misfortune. This woman had been attacked by men with malice in their hearts. His jaw tightened as Lily wept beside him, gripping her mother's hand with tiny fingers, desperate to hold on. But Ethan was not a man to stand still. Without wasting a breath, he lifted the woman into his strong arms and carried her toward his farm, Lily hurrying close behind. The sun rose higher now, its golden rays cutting across the frosted fields, as if nature itself watched this act of grace. Ethan laid the woman on his own bed, wrapped her in blankets, and began to tend her wounds. He was no healer, but years of caring for livestock and enduring harsh winters had taught him enough about mending. For days, Ethan cared for them. Lily sat by her mother's side, clutching her hand, while Ethan brought water, cooked simple meals, and cleaned wounds with a tenderness that surprised even him, uncovering a part of himself he had long hidden. The giant farmer, feared by many for his size and gruff exterior, showed a heart full of boundless care. Slowly, color returned to the woman's face and her breaths grew steadier. Her name, Ethan learned, was Nora. She had faced cruelty from men who thought themselves strong. They had come seeking what little she owned, and when she fought back, they harmed her. Lily had run in desperation, hoping anyone would hear her. And by some stroke of fate, she found Ethan. As days became weeks, the farm that once echoed with only the mooing of cattle and the creak of wooden beams now rang with new sounds. Lily's giggles as she chased chickens in the yard, Nora's soft voices singing lullabies as she regained her strength, and Ethan's deep laugh, a sound he had nearly forgotten. The farm became more than land and work. It became a home bound not by blood but by the silent vow of care and protection. But peace is always tested. Word spread of Ethan sheltering the woman and her child. Soon the men who had hurt Nora came searching. They rode in on horses, rough and jeering, their presence a dark cloud over the bright morning sky. Ethan stood in the doorway of his cabin, his massive frame blocking the view inside. Lily clung to Nora's side, their eyes wide with fear. The men demanded Ethan hand them over, mocking him for shielding a battered woman and her kid. But Ethan's voice, deep as a storm, silenced their taunts. He told them that if they wanted to touch either of them, they'd have to face him. The standoff was tense, the air so thick it seemed even the breeze held its breath. Yet when the men saw the fire in Ethan's eyes, the kind of fire that burns in a man with nothing to lose but everything worth guarding, they hesitated. They may have been cruel, but they weren't fools. One by one, they turned their horses, muttering curses, and rode away. Thayland fell silent once more, and with it came a sigh of relief that echoed through the trees. In that moment, Ethan realized something. He had lived alone for so long, believing solitude was his path. But Lily and Nora had brought light into his shadowed world. They had shown him that even a toughened man could become a protector, a guardian, and perhaps a father and partner in spirit, if not by blood. What began as a desperate tap on his door had become the knock that changed his life forever. Friends, if this tale has moved your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with those you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Tale Stories. Tales like these are more than stories. They are reminders of the strength we hold, the kindness we can offer, and the change we can spark in others. And before we close, I want to ask you something special. If you were Ethan, opening your door that morning, what would you have done? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. The sun climbed higher over the farm that day, casting long rays of light across the frosted fields. Ethan stood with Lily holding on of his hands and Nora the other, their silhouettes framed against the morning glow. They had faced cruelty, they had endured pain, but together they had found something stronger than fear. They had found family, and that more than anything is what amazed everyone the most.